Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
Hey, welcome back to this episode on Yeukai Business Show. Guys, I have to tell you how excited I am about the recent ranking that we have experienced, that we are now among the top 3% of the most popular podcasts in the world around podcasting and around business. So I'm excited about today. And I want you to know that if you haven't caught up on that, you may want to check that out in the group, or reach out to somebody about it. Now, out of that, I'm always excited, but today I'm super excited because I'm joined by a property investor today, Mark Lloyd. Mark, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, Yeukai.
Amazing. Awesome. Now, Mark Lloyd has been in business for over 32 years. He's a serial entrepreneur, having co-founded a number of companies ranging from domestic central heating, IT, utilities, telecommunication, to a more lately property investment and property investment training and property crowdfunding. So you are in a treat today. If you want to know all things about property, specifically, we want to demystify the myth around property investing and that anyone can start as little as £10,000. You can start making money from property with that little investment. Mark, there's a lot of things there I've left out for those who are yet to come across your work. Tell us who you are and some of the things you have done.
Sure, yeah. I think my very first job, actually, because I've only had one job in my life, which was in banking.
Awesome.
And I left that, I think I was about 26 or 27 at the time. That's when I've been in business ever since that time. So that's actually now 34 years ago. So I've been in business on my own account. I've run sales teams. I've set up companies, as you've already mentioned. My very first proper company was a central heating company, which I set up with a business partner of mine. I'm not a plumber, but I had the sales and business skills to help develop the company. We eventually sold that company for a nice profit. He went off to do something else. I met other business partners, and one of those business partners stuck with me. And I've been business partners with a lady called Jackie for 28 years now.
Amazing.
So she's been my long-term business partner. I think the thing is with business partners, it's quite difficult to have a long-term relationship, particularly with someone you didn't start out knowing, because I never knew Jackie 28 years ago.
Wow.
She was introduced to me by somebody else.
Amazing.
And that's kind of how it's worked along the way with the other things I've done. So we sold. We had last company we had together prior to property was a telecommunications company, which we sold that about 12 years ago now. We'd already started property investing by that time, and we used the proceeds from the sale of the company to actually start to help build our portfolio. Now, if we'd known what we know now, we would still have kept that company. But we thought that we needed a lot of money to invest in property, when in fact you don't.
Right.
And that's what I'll come on to. But when we started out in property, didn't really know a great deal. We decided to sign up for some training with a company called the Rich Dad Organization, which many people may have read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes.
Where we signed up to be taught by them for all the property strategies in the UK. We became mentors with them, and then left a few years later and started to build our own portfolio. But we also started our own training company to teach investors or teaching those that wanted to get involved in property investing how to do it safely, securely, and hopefully without losing money. Because again, it's another common misconception that you can't lose money in property, but you can if you get it wrong, and quite a lot of money as well.
Yes. I'm looking forward to talking more about that for sure.
Okay. And then more recently, we started the crowdfunding platform as an international crowdfunding platform. Our head office is based in Rotterdam, but we have representations in New Zealand, Sweden, Netherlands, Germany, UK, Canada, and soon to be USA and South Africa and Mexico as well. So that's growing quite rapidly as a company, quite exciting as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
kind of a bit more of my background.
One of the things that you mentioned there, which I note the fact that, your crowdfunding company, while it's still in beta, you have raised over 2 million euros. Is that incredible? Talk to us about that for a moment.
Yeah, well, we got regulatory approval in the Netherlands in July last year, and then we started to raise in November last year when we took on our first project, but we haven't actually advertised yet. So we've raised just over 2 million euros for property development projects. We've got another 2 million in the pipeline as well, and this is all without advertising.
That's amazing.
Once we start to advertise, then that should grow quite substantially. We estimate the company to be worth around about 15 million at the moment. Once we get our international partners on board, that valuation will jump exponentially.
Yes, amazing. We would love to know what you have done to make such a significant or such a rapid growth in a fairly short time for a project that is in beta. That is extraordinary, Mark.
Yeah, well, I think it's for the crowdfunding. So we've done two things. I mean, one, we're quite a reasonable sized team. So I've got business partners in Spain, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland. And so we're quite international.
Awesome.
And each has got their own different expertise. One of the key things we did right at the very outset was that we decided we were going to build this platform on blockchain technology.
Okay.
As well. And it's part of the tech behind what we do, plus the way we've expanded, which has helped create the valuation we currently have.
Amazing. Certainly a lot of things there to learn from you, Mark, and I know my listeners will be intrigued to know more about that. But let's dive deep into property investment. You touched very briefly on your story, how you sold your previous business so that you can go into property. I see a lot of people do that. It's very tempting because you often don't know exactly what is involved. Let's talk about the reality of that, how much money you need to get started in property, and maybe things around that.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, there's lots of misconceptions around property. One is the amount of money you actually need. Now, I thought I needed a lot of money. Reality is you don't. You need access to money at some point, yes, but it doesn't have to be your money. And if you want to rely just on your own money, you could start from as little as £5,000 or £10,000. I would say 10,000 is probably the realistic minimum, but that will allow you to start to build a property portfolio, and that that £10,000 would generate somewhere between £1,500 to £2,500 net income per month. So it's quite a good investment. Obviously, you've got to know what you're doing. So, so that's one of the misconceptions. The second misconception is a lot of people think it's very easy. What is there to do apart from buying and selling a property or buying and renting property? Well, yes, you can do that. And if you wait long enough, you will make money. But I made a lot of money within my first year, my second year, my third year of doing property. I make more money most years than most other people do that are starting out in property because they just think it's that straightforward. And if you want it to be, I suppose, a non-active business, then yes, you could just do that. I didn't want that. I wanted to make it a proper business. I want to actually make real money. And because property is quite a slow business, you've got to learn techniques that can help accelerate that.
Right.
So what I did initially, I initially got trained. So a lot of people said I was foolish. I spent £35,000 getting trained. Now, people say that's a lot of money. Well, it was, but I didn't have it at the time. I paid for it on credit cards. But I made that much money and more on my very first property bill. So was it a good investment? Yes, it was. And from that, I grew to what I have today, which is quite a large portfolio in the UK. I don't invest outside the UK. But I've used a lot of different professional property techniques that most amateurs don't realise exist, because all they're used to doing is watching programs like Homes Under the Hammer, where you go to an auction, you hope to get a property at a price, and then you pay for all the refurbishment and you hopefully make some money. Well, there's no hopefully involved in what I do. It's all planned. I know exactly what the project's going to do. I know exactly the buy price I'm going to pay it if I buy it, because, again, you don't have to buy property to make money from it. So if you're starting with 10,000, clearly you're not going to buy a property in this country for 10,000. but you can use it to help them make money from property. So there are many strategies around that where you don't own the property, but you actually make money from it.
Amazing.
Most people don't realise those things.
No, let's perhaps expand on that for those who may be wondering, how do you actually do that? Would you let us into that information?
Well, I can give you kind of an inkling of what it is. So
sure.
Essentially, if any of you listeners have read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the things he says is the best way of building wealth is to own nothing and control everything. So you may have seen in the papers or in the news that of companies being bought for £1 or £100 or £1,000. Many large names, British Home Stores, Woolworths, these all companies that have collapsed in the past 10 years have all been bought for a very, very small amount of money. The same principle applies to property, where you can not buy it, but you take what's called an option on the property, which gives you control over that property to make money from it, whether it's income or capital. And that can be as little as £1. £10,000 gives you a chance.
Amazing. That's very, very intriguing. It's also intriguing for me because I never used that when we just bought our two properties outrightly, just like everybody, does. But the way you explain it makes it sound like anybody can do this if they are coached on how to do it effectively.
Yeah, with the right training. But you're common with most other people. That's exactly what they do. They just buy a couple of properties, but then they can't go any further because they run out of money.
Correct.
So, because I've got around about 60 properties. To buy 60 properties is a lot of money, but I didn't use my money to get those properties. So, building a portfolio and actually making money out of property is not about having lots of money. It's about knowledge and learning first of all, how to structure the deals, and secondly, if you need to find money, where you're going to find that money. But it doesn't have to be, you don't need to have lots of money yourself. It's more about having persistence and determination to make that project succeed. And I put it, if I give an analogy, if you're starting out in business and you've got a really strong desire to succeed, you will do anything to help that succeed.
Oh, yes.
The same principle applies when you're doing a property project. You know it's going to make money, but you need some money. Well, you're going to find it, aren't you? I'm always amazed at the number of people in this country and worldwide that have no money, yet they can go and spend £5,000 or £6,000 on a summer holiday, but they've got no money. If they were actually to invest that £5,000 or £6,000 and double it in a year or more, that's about creating wealth. But no, they're more than happy to, I wouldn't say waste it, because you need to have a release, and having a holiday is a good thing. Do you need to spend £5,000 or £6,000? No. So it's all about prioritization in your life. And if you prioritize your life in the sense of, if you want to make money, there's certain things you're going to have to sacrifice. There's a certain amount of time you're going to have to put in, and obviously the determination to succeed.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about other misconception that often surrounds property investment. Is there anyone that comes to mind other than what we've talked about?
Timing. So as we speak today, so we're in 2021, the property market over the past year has been growing quite rapidly, partly due to some government measures that have been implemented. But when you look at these statistics, the growth rate last year was round about 8%, somewhere between 7 and 8%. That is actually the long-term average.
Right. So
over the past 50 years, property has grown at 7 to 8% per year. But the misconception is that properties were growing too fast last year. Well, in fact, they weren't. So when you talk about timing, the time to invest in property is always now. Why? Because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen in a month's time, 6 months' time, a year's time. If you are going to get involved in property investing and the numbers stack, because it's down to numbers, it's not down to emotion. At the end of the day, every property project down to the figures. And if the figures stack and you're happy with the returns now, you do the deal.
Right.
If you're not happy with the returns, you don't do the deal. Simple as that.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. One misconception that I have come across is it takes a long time for you to see the remuneration or the returns on your investment. That
again is false. If you do it the traditional way, just as you've done, you bought a couple of properties, that will take you a while to see decent returns on that.
Yeah.
Yes, it can take a while. Do it the way that we teach people to invest, you can make a lot of money in your first year. I'll give you a few examples. So some of the people that we've taught, so I'll give you an example of a couple. They were from South Africa. They came to the UK, couldn't get mortgages, so they couldn't buy properties because they couldn't get any mortgages. But we showed them one of the strategies I talked about earlier, where by the end of their first year, they were earning £10,000 per month net.
Without owning the property.
Standing start.
Without
owning properties.
But controlling property.
Right, so £10,000 net per month. Then we had another guy, a guy based down in Bristol. He had a full-time job with Shell. He was doing property investing very much part-time, about 10 hours a week. By the end of his first year, he was on £5,000 per month part-time, just doing 10 hours a week, £5,000 a month.
That is incredible, absolutely incredible. So let's talk about, for those who are hearing this information, say this is too good to be true, and they haven't looked at it from the way you're looking at it. Where can they start? What's the starting point?
Well, the starting point really is to understand, is to get some knowledge. And as you know, I run a training company, so it's one of the things we do. We specialize mostly in mentoring, coaching investors rather than just a training course, because we're very much at getting results. A training course, someone can attend a training course, but most people don't implement what they learn in the training course. So we coach and mentor them to help them succeed. And so the first point is learning. Don't just jump in and think you know it all, because I'll tell you, if you make a mistake in property, it can cost you a lot of money. So a lot of people query about paying for training in property. Well, the cost of bad advice is a lot more than the cost of good advice, and that's what I would say to anybody: is learn. So we as a company, that's the kind of thing we do. We help people succeed in property over the next 6 months, 12 months, and beyond if they want to continue working with us.
Awesome, amazing. And tell us about your training program. Where can they access it should they want to do that?
Yeah, sure. So the company is called Property Master Academy, that's our website as well, propertymasteracademy.co.uk. You can certainly find details on there. You can book a call with me through that website as well, or you just email me, which is mark@propertymasteracademy.co.uk.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now, for those who have been doing this, and they, what sort of mistakes have you observed people do? Oftentimes they don't know they're making the mistakes, but they discovered later on that was a huge mistake. What are some of those mistakes you have observed?
I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is really people that pay for us to teach them, but they don't listen.
Right.
They have an ego that they have to be right all the time. They'll listen to us, but then they don't implement what we've told them to do. They put their own twist on it instead of just doing exactly as we ask them to do. Those people that do it as we ask them to do succeed. Those that don't might succeed. Right? So because they're trying to put their own stamp on it, so some of the things we ask people to do make them feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So they don't do them. Right. Like in any business adventure, and property investing is no different, right? It's a business venture. At the end of the day, you're going to have to do some uncomfortable things.
Yes, you do.
It might be you make that extra call. You've got to knock on that door. You've got to talk to somebody you don't know. All those kind of things which people find uncomfortable. I used to find it uncomfortable talking in front of a group of people. But a couple of years ago, I spoke to over 2,000 people in South Africa, Pretoria, in an international audience, which I could easily do again. I've done it several times since. So there's lots of things you have to do to get outside of your comfort zone. But one of those things is if you're going to pay for advice, listen to it and implement it. Don't try and change the wheel, right? Don't try and change something that's already working by putting your own spin on it. Because listening to experiences, I say I've been doing it now for 17 years, property investing. Some of the people we work with in our team have been doing it even longer. Why wouldn't you want to listen to them? It'll accelerate your journey.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And for those who have already perhaps started their journey and they want to know, they want to fast forward their journey. Do you have any tips on what they can do right now?
We've got a YouTube channel which they can obviously go onto and find a lot of material on there which will help them, give them some basic understanding, basic key points and what to look for. There's a number of books. The very first one, as I said earlier, Richard Reed's Rich Dad Poor Dad. There are some other property books, general ones. None of them, in my opinion, are that good. Talk to people that are already doing it, like ourselves. Talk to other investors. And network with as many people as you possibly can, because you don't know where at some point that person may have a contact that's going to be of use to you. So, other things. But the most important thing initially is learning, and then making sure you're learning from someone who's actually doing it, not just teaching it.
Awesome. So talking about the learning aspect of that, how do you decide who to follow? Because there's so many companies that are training these property investment programs. How do you go about ascertaining that this is the right one to follow, this is the right one to work with?
Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult question. I think really you need to resonate with the people that you're going to be working with.
Right.
So for us, for example, obviously a lot of stuff's done online now, like Zoom and the software that you're using. So that's the only way we get to meet people. And you've got to be able to resonate with those people, because if I'm going to be teaching you over a number of months, we've got to like each other. You've got to trust what I'm saying. You've got to hope that I've got some credibility. So check me out. If you check me out, you just type in Mark Lloyd Property on Google, and you'll find out about me. Now, one of our USPs is that we only work with a small number of people. Yes, there are other companies in our space, but they work with hundreds of people at a time. We just don't want to do that. We want to focus on a small group of people and make them successful, because trying to make hundreds of people successful at once is just not possible. But making a small group successful is. So that's probably the main difference between us and those others that are in our space.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you for that. As we're coming toward the end of our time here together, Mark, any final thoughts for those who are really looking to go into property investment right now, but they're hesitant to jump into it? What would you say to them?
Right, if you're thinking about it, stop thinking about it and just do it. There's many business idea where people come up with ideas. Oh, I wish I'd done that. Just make a decision. If you don't make a decision now, you never will. And if you've got no money, so what? Find it. Right? If you need a new car tomorrow, the current one's broken, you can't fix it, you're going to find the money, aren't you? If you need something, you will find them.
This is true.
So, don't come up with excuses. That's all it is. It's yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Make a decision and just do it. Indeed.
And with your training, how long does it take, Mark?
Well, it's an ongoing thing. So the mentorship program runs over an initial period of 6 months.
Okay.
Because obviously property does take a while to get going. So initial period of 6 months. Some people do it for 12 months or longer. But it's a mixture of group teaching as well as one-to-one.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. We are coming to the end now. You have been generous with your knowledge, and we certainly want to thank you for that. And for you listeners, if you really want to know what is involved in property investment, just like I am, I've just discovered that I could actually make more money, from my property rather than going the traditional route. So if you're like me, you know where to head to, and you can reach out to Mike. We'll put some link below this audio so that you can directly go straight to his website. And again, if you've got any question, do hook us up and we'll be able to help you. And finally, I'm always now on Clubhouse between 9 and 10 UK time, talking about all things business, from podcasting to finance to marketing, and would love for you to join us over there if you've got a moment. And with that said, have a great day. Thank you for tuning in and being with us here today. Mark, once again, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Okay.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.